Tasmai Sachatmane Namaha. Yata Sarvani Bhutani Pratibhamti Sthitani. From where all creatures originate and are sustained. A triumvirate yanti, into which they all merge. Tasmai Sachatmane Namaha. I also bow to my father, who said, as my guru. It's a great pleasure for me to be here. And that to the Vichar Manch. Vichara means inquiry, analysis. And that's what Vedanta is all about. Who are we? What is our relationship to this universe? To understand that in an exploratory spirit. That's why the heritage we had from the Upanishads, from the Vedas, of course, the Upanishads, and then various Brahma Sutras, which are taken from the Upanishads and condensed by Badarayana, or some people call him as Vyasa as well, and then BhagavadGitA, which codified everything in 700 verses, the essence of it. So these three together, they are called triumvirate. That is our Prasthana Trayi. In your spiritual journey, they are the milestone. They give so much, is our great heritage. And that one is not restricted to any particular religion or particular God or particular thing. It's really universal. It's about us and the creation. What is our relationship? So this requires a thorough study and understanding, first of all, a motivation, and then what it is, how do we practice it, all those things. So I try to divide today's talk into three topics. One is why, another is what, third one is how. Because every time we all know that these Upanishads were there, this literature was there for a long time, most of us are so busy. We never get the time to really understand what is their relevance to our day-to-day life. Is it necessary? Can I not function? Why should I worry about those things? Yes, eat and be very happy life, whatever life we have, we can do that, right? But the why question is just to motivate. Why do we have to do it? So I try to answer the why question in three ways. First thing is, look at the sea, world around us. These beautiful seasons and new flowers, the hydrological cycle, which brings us so much water from the oceans, without which we cannot survive. And not only the oceans, but if you look into deep space, no one knows how big is this space. No one knows how many stars are there. With all the physical sciences, we still cannot estimate how many stars are there. So it is a wonder. So we have to understand where did it come from? There must be some reason somewhere to think about it, some source of it. So it's a kind of curiosity, I would say. The second reason is happiness. What is happiness? Vivekananda, in all his lectures, he would emphasize that. Because every creature basically wants to be happy. One thing is, it doesn't know what that real happiness is and how to get it and how to sustain it. We all have lots of worries, lots of anxieties, lots of things to worry about every day. We see glass really as half empty because I always think of what we don't have. Because all our life's work is essentially two sentences. Try to get what you don't have. Hold to what you have. That's all our efforts. Everything is connected to those two brackets. So because of that, we don't really, in this work, I would call it a struggle for survival in some sense, in terms of jobs, keeping the jobs, going through that, earning livelihood, keeping it. We are so busy. There are lots of stresses, lots of things. So we have anxieties, we have fears, we have lots of things going on in the mind. Sometimes we keep them on the side. We have momentary happiness when some things happen the way we want it. Then we get back into the fears, back to the anxieties in the nights or in sleep or something. So how do we get a permanent happiness? Brahmananda, as the Upanishads call it.
If you can please come closer to the mic, it's a little here.
Brahmananda. That is the ultimate happiness. Okay, thank understanding the happiness. There is a book called Sankhya Karika. It is today, that is the oldest available text on Sankhya Shastra. It's written by Ishvara Krishna in 1 year BC or something like that. Some people did. I will read the opening slokam. It's a very interesting slokam. Dukkha trayabhighata jijñāsa tat apaghatake hetau drushte sāpārtha chet naikāntā chantata abhāvat. That is tremendous meaning. Dukkha trayabhighata. We all have dukkha trayas, 3 dukkhas. One is about ourselves, that is Adi Atmikam, then about Adi Bhautikam, things around us, then Adi Daivika. These are dukkha trayas. So we naturally have an inquiry about how do we override these things, how do we take care of ourselves, this dukkha. So whatever that is, that's why jijñāsa, tad apaghatake hetu. What are the ways to overcome that? Drushte, suppose you have solutions, why do you worry about that? Those solutions are there. It says, no, that's not correct, because none of them, either ekanta or achanta. Naikanta, achantata, abhava. Ekantam means certainty. Ekam antam. Usually we use it, ekantam means sitting in a corner somewhere, it's not that. Ekam antam. Like a headache, if you have a headache, you take a tablet, it works for 6 hours. Maybe next one, again you have to take it. Sometimes it works, and for some time even that doesn't work. So it's not certain to work, and it doesn't last. It's not achantam. Naikanta, achantata, bhava. So whatever solutions, for example, for my body, other diseases, you take medications, you take medications every day, it doesn't go away. Some are what they call manage. Like for example, I have asthma for 60 years, I'm managing my asthma, not getting rid of it. So that is about body. About surroundings. If you are afraid somebody will get into your house, you can have fence, you can have electric fence, you can have video cameras, you can have all sorts of things. Still there is no guarantee. Somebody won't get in their house. Maybe they can drop them from a helicopter, maybe God knows. And then Adi Daivikam, like earthquakes, for example. You prepare all the package and everything for earthquakes, battery lights, food, this, water. When the earthquake really happens, you may not have access to it. We don't know. Of course, it doesn't mean we should not prepare for it. But it's not certain. So that's what this verse says. Naikanta chantata. Then what is the solution? It says, if you don't have dukkha, you don't have to read the rest of the book. Even atheists have dukkha. They may not believe in God, but they have anxieties, they have fears, they have dukkha. So how do you do that? So the rest of the book goes about what is dukkha, why does it arise, what is the reason, who feels it is a body, it is mind, is it because of attachments, is it because things you want or you have expectations too high, whatever. So the rest of the book is the analysis of the book. Normally it's a custom in the old Sanskrit language, you don't start with something negative. But here, it starts with dukkha because the topic is how to alleviate dukkha. So that is the second part. That is how to get happiness. So the second part of the why. The first one is about surroundings, motivation. Third one is this. The second one is this. Third one is the most important. It is the spirit of exploration. Just as we explore underseas, we explore space, we have to explore ourselves. What is this body? How is it working? No, we are like robots. We have eyes, we have video cameras like equivalent to that. You can hear a microphone. We just go around and we are formed, and then we just, without knowing how we function. A robot doesn't know how the software, how is it working and who put it or whatever it just goes. We are like robots if we don't understand ourselves. So we have to explore. Once you explore, what will happen is the one that we just talked about happiness. We understand what it is needed, how should we function in this world, in this environment. How do we manage ourselves? How do you manage without knowing what you are? Shankaracharya, in a book called Aparokshanbhuti, Paroksha is indirect, Aparokshan direct, direct experience, that's what the title of the book is, Aparokshanbhuti. He asks 4 questions. He says, all of you should ask these 4 questions. Koham, who am I? Kasamidam jata, where did it all come from? Kovai kartasya vijyate, who did all this? Upadanam kimasti, with what is this made? These are 4 questions. You can listen to a lot of things, you can read a lot of things, all kinds of things, but you have to find answers to those 4 questions. You don't have to read a lot, but you should get convincing answers to these 4 questions, and that's all the philosophy. So what is Koham? So with this, assuming these 3 would be a motivation to study the philosophical works, which our ancient sages went through this process for us, not just either for their own or for all of us, but we got the benefit of it. They found ways, they understood lots of things, they found ways to other people to follow them, to get to that happiness. That's what the heritage, that's what the literature we have. So from this I will move on to the next one, from how, assuming you are interested in the how part of it, to what. What is that philosophy? Let me start with what is called Ekashloki. This is Shankaracharya's famous slokam. A 10-year-old boy comes to Shankaracharya and asks him, tell me about God. Now, he is a man who wrote so many complicated bhashyas and stotras and books. How does he tell a 10-year-old boy about God? So he devised a new way. I will ask you questions, you answer me. So the teacher asks questions, and the boy answers. First question is, Kim Jyotis Tava? With what light are you able to see what you are seeing? Well, the boy says, what's the big question? Daytime there is sun, nighttime I have lights in the house. That's why I'm able to see. He said, okay, that's fine, that's like a good answer. How do you know that there is a sun and there is a light in the room? The kid is still bewildered. Why is he asking this simple question? Akya hime, I have lights. He says, Ravi Deepa Darsana Vidho Kim, how did you find those things? He says, Akya hime, I have eyes, that's what I'm saying. He said, okay, that's fine. Chakshustasya nimilanadi samaye kim, when you close your eyes in the night time, you see all kinds of things. There is no sun, there is no light, even your eyes are closed. How are you able to see it? It's a little tricky question. The kid pauses. He says, Dhi, I have my intellect. Dhiyo darsane kim. What is it enabling for your intellect to see those things? He is completely floored. The kid says, Tatra, oh, it's only me. Tata, Bhavan Paramakam Jyoti. Nilone only that light which is enabling you to see all those things. Then the kid says, Tadasmi Prabhu, I will think about it. Now I understand what you are driving me at. I will understand how I am operating. He took example of eyes. It could be same thing for ears, or it could be any other senses. It's a beautiful slokam. It's called Ekashloki. It has questions and answers. I will recite the whole slokam. Kim Jyotis Tava Bhanuma Anime Ratrau Pradeepadikam Sadevam Ravideepa Darsana Vidho Kim Jyoti Rakhya Hime Chakshustasya Nimena Nadi Samaye Kim Thiyo Darsane Kim Tatra Hamato Bhavan Paramakam Jyoti Prabhusmi. So the slokam has questions and answers. If people didn't know what it was, it's difficult to interpret. So what it is, basically what he is saying is, here is the energy, something in you that's enabling you to see things. In fact, he wrote a book called Drusya Vivekam. It's an excellent book, everyone has to read. Druk means one who sees. Drusyam is what is seen. this drukdrusya vivekam, suppose there is a chair, I am seeing the chair. My eye gives the image of the chair to mind. Somewhere when I was 1.5 years or 2 years old, somebody told me it looks like chair. So my mind says, okay, it is chair, it classifies that chair. So I know it's chair. Thing is, the chair doesn't know that I am seeing it.
See?
I doesn't know how the mind is classifying it. Mind doesn't know where the power it got from. So it's one-way traffic. So that is the druk. Ultimately, who is the real druk? It is the Paramatma. Everything else is drusya. Whatever you see is drusya. And drusyam is not God. Anything that you see is changing, is not permanent, is decaying. So what is it that is not decaying, that's permanent, that's there all the time? What is the truth? That is what we need to find. That's the what. Drukdrusya Vivekam is a great book that way. So this is again, what are we seeing? Where did it come from? Taittiriya Upanishad tells us from the Pancha Mahabhutas, that is 5 elements. Prithvi, Apas, Tejo, Vayu, Akasha, they all came one from the other. Starting from Akasha at the end, Akasha, the space, has the property of sound. From that came Vayu. The air has not only inherits the property of sound, it also has touch. So we have Shabda, Sparsha, touch. From Vayu came Agni. Agni gets other two, that is Shabda and Sparsha, but also Rupa. Agni has a shape. And from Agni came water. Water gets all those other 3 plus taste, rasa. And then came earth. Earth gets all the other 4 plus gandha, smell. So we have these 5 elements have 5 properties: shabda, sparsha, rasa, rupa, rasa, gandha. For all those 5, we have 5 elements in the body. You have eyes, you have ears, you have touch, you have tongue for taste. So the 5 elements created in us, the corresponding functions, corresponding things to be able to do. This is what is called Pancheekarana. That is how the 5 elements create the material world around you. In each particular object you see, one of them may be a prominent one, others may be playing secondary role. But if you take those 5, even minute change in one of them comes out to be a different object or creature. Minute. So you have infinitesimal possibilities. The Vedas tell us that there are 8.4 lakhs. You are Indians, I am telling you about 8.4 lakhs or 0.84 millions. So many varieties of life itself. And if you take other than animate objects like hills, this one, unbelievable. So these 5 elements are creating this through Pancheekarana, whatever material world you see. So the body also is a material world, right? But the material world itself cannot function, especially living beings, without sentience. That's what the Paramatma comes in. Everything we see, we have both Prakriti and Purusha. 2 should be there all the time. Paramatma functions in the body through the 5 vital forces. Prana, Apana, Vyana, Udana, Samana. If you read Prasthana, that gives you details of how all these things function. Prana is responsible for breath. Prana should not be translated as breath. Prana is vital force. Breath is swasa. Prana, apana is for digestion. Vyana for all our nervous energy. Udana, the energy that keeps going up. That's what most yogis, when they want through sushupta, so that finally, through the head, what they call the sushumna nadi. So through Sushumna Nadi, finally that should go. And then Sama. Whatever we eat, whatever energy we get, it distributes in the system as needed. Not equally. Sama, though word Samana is translated equally, it's not Sama. It is in control. For example, 70% of the blood goes to the brain, 60%. That's what it requires more. So it balances it. And if you don't eat for 5 days, it knows whatever energy is there, how to redistribute so that you essentially function. Where does it come from? You still function. If you don't have food for 20 days, you can still function. You can be alive. But if you don't have prana, so when you sleep in the night, when all the senses go tired, you sleep, none of these 5 sleep. Prana, apana, vyana, udana, samana, they are always at work. Your digestion keeps taking place, what we ate in the dinner, everything. This came from Aitareya Upanishad, from the Paramatma himself. Prana is represented. The first Aitareya Upanishad says, 2 things are created. One is prana, another is food. Both are required. Prana and Rayi, that's what it says. Those 2 are responsible for keeping up the teachings. So what we have seen, in fact, if some of you are familiar with the Narayana Suttam, it says, Echa Ginchit Jagat Sarvam Drusyate Shruyate Piva. Whatever little you are seeing or listening, Antar Bahishchatat Sarvam Vyapya Narayana Sthita. Whatever is inside, whatever is outside, is all permeated by Narayana. Everything. But you don't see that. You see only grass objects. Why? That's what the Vedantis call it as Vichar. Vichar means it's not that it doesn't exist, it means your way of looking is not right. Because you are not seeing Parabrahma in it. You are not seeing Narayana, you are only seeing grass shapes. So what is the reason? I can give you a little bit explanation from a scientific point of view. We all know any object like this table or anything, any of these, they have lattice structure. It has atoms. There are electrons rotating around that. In fact, now people are talking about a God particle or boson, which gives energy to these things, in fact, responsible for creating these things. So you really should be seeing those atoms, those electrons, or even bosons, and not grass objects, because every grass object can be broken down to those things. But you are not seeing them. You can't see it because your eyes have only limited capacity. Your hearing, you can only hear for so much distance. So we have a finite senses. So we create a finite database. We think that's the word. That's not the word. Because we are limited by our senses. Every one of us more or less have similar capabilities. But if you take an eagle, it flies at 10,000 feet, it can see a snake. And then it swoops in. But we can't see it. An elephant has a different world. An ant has a different world. If you take an ant lion, you go and stand 2-3 feet away, it doesn't even know you are there. Does it mean you are there or not in its world? But if you go very close, it will bite you. So we have our own, depending on your senses, we have your limited version, what we think is the world. That takes us to the stuff of Mandukya Upanishad. Mandukya Upanishad tells us who really you are, how you are functioning. It is only 12 mantras. It is the shortest of all the Upanishads. And it deals directly how we function. Like what I said, the body and various kinds of awareness states. It is so important. There is another Upanishad called Muktiko Upanishad. And there is a question of how do you get mukti and all. It answers, Mandukyam ekam evalam mukshunam vimuktaye. Mandukyam ekam evalam. Only Mandukya is enough for mukshunam vimuktaye. Because of that importance, Shankaracharya's Guru's Guru, Shankaracharya's Guru Govinda Bhagavad, his Guru Gaudapada. Gaudapada wrote commentary, Karika as it is called, only on this Upanishad. He didn't write on anything else. Karika is different from Bhashya. Bhashya is commentary on the original. Karika is, he adds to it his own interpretation of what is Artha. He has written about a book, Karika, which is about 213 verses for these 12 mantras. The first chapter deals with the original text. The rest of the 3 chapters is description and his analysis of what you are saying, what it is. The entire advaitha proponent. Anyone who wants to study advaitha has to study Karika, Gaudapada Karika. So I will go into a little bit of what that is, and then we move on to how. I will close at 2:30. That should be enough, right? Yeah, I'll just go fast.
Plus minus.
The Mandukya Upanishad, first it makes 2 big statements. Sarvam Om Ichetadaksharam Idam Sarvam. He says simply, Om Iti Etat Aksharam is Sarvam. That's it. Everything is just Om. Tasyopa Vyakyanam will explain to you later. And then it says, again it emphasizes, Bodham Bhavat Bhavishyaditi Sarvam Omkara Eva. Whatever was past, whatever is present, whatever is future, everything is Omkara only. Echanya Trikalatitam Sarva Omkara Eva. If whatever is behind these times, if there is any, because we talk about kalam is relative thing, right? Even that is Omkara. And then it makes another big declaration. Sarvam Etat Brahma. Sarvam Hi Etat Brahma. Definitely all is that. All this, whatever you see is Brahma. Just now we saw that the energy is source of energy. If you have an atomic sight, that's what you should be seeing. Right? You should be able to see both sides, not the stolable parts. Then, I am Atma Brahma. This Atma that is in me is also the same Brahma outside. This is called one of the Mahavakyas. There are 4 Mahavakyas in Vedanta. If we understand that, the entire essence is those 4 Vakyas. For this is I am Atma Brahma, that is this Atma that are. Earlier it said Sarvam Hetat Brahma, I am Atma Brahma. So is everything universally Brahma. You are also same Brahma. There is no different. Why? How is it possible? Suppose imagine in this space there are about a dozen different sizes of parts. Each part has air in it, right? Earthen parts. Same air. You break one part, what happens to the air? It doesn't go anywhere. It's already there. In fact, the part came into the air, not the air into the part. That's an interesting thing to think about. The air is already there. Just we made part and kept it. You could have made something else also. So we are all actually the parts. In Sanskrit, we are called ghatas. In my childhood, people used to refer to people ghata. Oh, that ghatam came. So, this Paramatma is there, he is immanent in us. We came into that space. And we go, nothing will go anywhere. It is there all the time. Like a part that is broken, the air didn't go anywhere. Because he is there. That's why Sarva says, I am Atma Brahma. Before I go to the rest of the Mandukya Upanishad, a little bit, I will be fast. I will tell about other 3 Mahavakyas. I said there are 4 of them. One of them is Prajnanam Brahma. Consciousness is Brahma. Total consciousness. Because total consciousness means what we talk about. Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. We all know, we keep singing about that, right? Satyam, the truth. The truth has to be truth all the time, not for some time and some time later. Or it is there in one place and not in another place. Jnana, that also is the same thing. It cannot be limited. That's why the third word is Anantam. It has to be Anantam. Everywhere, completely endless. Otherwise there will be another Satyam. Or another Jnana. There is only one Jnana, one Satyam. So like this, Prajnanam Brahma. And the other one is the teacher tells the student, Tattvamasi, that's another Vakya. Tattvamasi means you are that. Tat Tvam Asi. Tat is Paramatma, Tvam is no, you, Asi, you both are same. The kid doesn't understand what am I Paramatma? How can I be Paramatma? There are some interesting, I don't want to go into it, in deriving meanings, what's called Jahada Jahar Lakshanas, Vichar, these are all mechanisms for deriving meanings. You can't derive some of the meanings just by looking at dictionaries. What it says is, Paramatma has Maya, you have avidya. Avidya means not being aware of who you are. You remove this avidya and remove that one. Maya, they both are same. Tattvamasi. So when you realize that, or when your avidya is gone, then Aham Brahmasmi. That is the fourth Mahavakya. I am that. So the first one, Tattvamasi, is called, is a Bodhana Vakya. The teacher tells the student. Aham Brahmasmi is Anubhava Vakya. One has to experience. So all this we are talking about is intellectually interesting, but that's not enough. It doesn't take you anywhere. Our great rishis, what they told us is, they are called Margadarsakas. They showed us the way, but we have to travel the way and experience it ourselves. No one can give you experience. They can't buy it. They can't transfer it. But if you are convinced, what they have went through, what they were saying, hundreds of rishis, thousands even, they all found the same thing. So we have to give them a benefit of doubt, what they said. Why would they say that? They are actually more intelligent than me. They would have got the same doubts as I am having. And yet the procedure they found. So we have to give that benefit of doubt till we practice it. Okay, if somebody says London is there in England, I have to believe your word if I didn't be there, right? Or I just see the map. Unless I buy a ticket and go there, I can't see it. But we believe the map because some third party made the map and some people went there and so on. Same thing here. They say this, they have done. So these are the four Mahavakyas. It takes time to understand, digest those things. Then I'll continue with the rest of the Mandukya Upanishad quickly. The next it says, Ayam Atma Brahma, Soyam Atma Chatushpat, Saha Ayam Atma Chatushpat. That is its four states. Pada we should not define, translate it as part, because the Bhagavan is indivisible. It can be part. It states. What happens is, like I said earlier, we have all these senses. They are all limited senses. So when the Paramatma functions in this, or let me call it just Atma, functions in this limited, like a small part, it creates various states of consciousness in us. Because the senses get tired after some time, they go to sleep, and you go to deep sleep. Your waking state, consciousness is different. When you are sleeping, you are a different person. You are not aware of what's going on. But whatever you saw in this space, in the waking sleep, looks real. People cry in the sleep because they get a bad dream. It's very real. Only when you wake up, you know, oh, it's unreal. You immediately realize that was not real because you were just lying there in the bed and you perhaps travel by planes or travel by cars and go everywhere, do all kinds of stuff. And the third one is deep sleep, Gadha Nidra, Sushupta. In Sushupta, nothing functions. You are not even aware of anything. All this world that you have been worried about whole day, when you go to deep sleep, just exist. There is no awareness, there is no touch. You won't know that even when you are in Gadha Nidra. Only when you wake up, oh, I had a great sleep, I had a wonderful sleep. Because in each state, you don't know about other states. So if you ask me, how are you? I should really ask you, are you talking about the waking person? Or my sleeping person? Or my deep sleep person? In one day, 24 hours, you move to 3 states. And the fourth one, that is the consciousness I was talking about. Brahma, Jnana, Akhanda Jnana. So that Akhanda Jnana gets bottled in this little body with limited senses. You go through these things. I will just read the first state, mantra. He says, very first one, out of 12 mantras, the 3 states it describes. Jagarita sthano bahishprajnaha, saptanga ekona vimshati mukha, stula vaisvanaraha, prathama paraha. What it says is, Jagarita sthano, that is in the waking state, bahishprajnaha. You know about everything that's outside. But our senses always go out, they don't go inside. That's how they're created. So you only see the outside objects. How are you able to see? There are inputs. Saptanga ekona vimshati mukha. Mukha ante inputs here. Like in a computer, you have mouse and you have keyboard. Saptanga. Saptanga is 5 parts created by the 5 elements. The head and the eyes. Eyes represent Surya. Ekona vimshati mukha. Vimshati is 20. Ekona means 1 less. 19. Those 19 are 5 jnanendriyas, that is 5 sensory organs, 5 karmendriyas, 5 action organs, 5 pranas, I just said pancha pranas earlier, 15. Mano, buddhi, ahankara, chitta. Manasu, buddhi, ahankara, chitta. Total 19. These 19 plus that 7, they enable you like a sponge ever since the minute you are born, gobble up information around. You are collecting information continuously on these things. That's how your awareness works. So your waking state awareness is that. And then what is that one? It is Stula Bhuk. Stula Bhuk means you are only gross forms you are able to see. That's why this state is called Vaishyara. The official name, whether Upanishadic name for waking state is Vaishyara. Why is it Stula Bhuk? Because our energy, I just explained earlier, our senses are limited. You cannot see. You can see a tree is made into several parts. You can make wood, you can take table, you can make chair, you can think. We see different forms. Because there are so many forms, you need different names. If all that you see is only one form, you need only one name. If everyone is like us, we need only one name. But we are different. All objects are different. So our world is Rupa, Nama. You have different Rupas, so you have different Namas. That's why Paramatma is called Nama Rupa Rahit. It's beyond Namas, beyond Rupas. Of course, we study 1,000 names of Shiva, etc. and all those. But that's only 1,000 is just what you call an example. Again, in this home 1,000 names, he has no Nama. That also comes inside that. In fact, even Lalita Sahasranam it comes. If you look at 41 to 44, the real philosophy of Lalita Sahasranam comes right there. But they don't tell you right in the beginning. Right in the beginning, you talk about, they describe Lalita, how resplendent she is, this and that, how forceful she is, how she killed all the Rakshasas, this Bhandasura and others. Then they give you the real thing. She has no name, she has nothing, she's not limited by anything, she is beyond fear, beyond this, beyond this. But if you tell them right at the beginning, people don't have interest. You have to create an image in the minds. Same thing with Vishwas. Basically, the waking state is that. Even in sleeping state, all these Saptanga, Ekona, Vimshati, Mukha are there. Because whatever you saw, data and the objects keep coming in the dreams. Sometimes you keep getting some strange things also. Things you didn't see. You may see a 10-headed elephant, you never saw that. But the buddhi is absent, it's not working that well. It doesn't tell you in the dreams, hey, this is not real. You are in the unreal world itself. But again, in Gavrinendra, nothing happens. That Turiya, how do you describe Turiya? The fourth one, the Brahma, the Jnana, the Akhanda Jnana. It is not describable by words. That's why entire philosophy says, Neti, Neti, Na, Iti. Not this, not this. Like we saw in Dhruv. So what it does, the seventh mantra in Advaitha, I will read that, in Mandukya Upanishad, is what everyone interested in Advaitha should know by heart. First it says, it is not this awareness that you got from this body. Na anta prajyam, na bahish prajyam, no abhayata prajyam, na prajyam, na prajyam. Nanta prajna, whatever you thought you knew about you inside, it's not that. Na bhayish prajnam, whatever you saw outside, it's not that. No bhayata prajnam, it's not a combination of that. Na prajnam, na aprajnam. It's also not as though you don't know it. Na prajnam, it's not whatever you do. But then what is it? Again, it doesn't say adrusyam, avyaharyam, agrahyam, alakshanam, achincham, avyapadesyam, adrusyam, you can't see it. Adrusyam, avyavaharyam, you can't transact business with it. I'll give you 10 coconuts, give me that. Or 20 coconuts, give me something more. You can't transact business. Adrusyam, avyavaharyam, agrahyam, difficult to comprehend. Alakshanam, doesn't have any name. They are lakshanas. Jati, Kriya, Saumya, Karma. These are the 4 lakshanas with which meaning for words have to be derived. He has neither Jati nor Karma nor Kriya, Saumya, nothing. So, Alakshan, Achincham, he cannot comprehend with mind what exactly it is shapeless, it is there all over everywhere. Avyapadesyam cannot be described in any text. But then, what are we getting? If you don't know, how do you realize it? But it tells us a little bit indication. Ekatma prachaya saram, it is the essence of that ekatma. Prapancham is beyond the worldly things, whatever you see, it transcends. Shantam, peace, peaceful. Shivam, auspicious. Advaitam, the word advaitam comes here in the Upanishad. Advaitam, Vaitam is 2, only one. Then it says, Sa Atma, Sa Vijnaya. We talked about why. The commandment comes here. Sa Vijnaya. You need to know that. You need to find out. You need to experience. Not just theoretically find some library. You can't find it. You can read 100 textbooks, listen to 1,000 lectures. But you have to experience it. Then only you know it. Sa Atma, Sat. That's why your organization's name very apt for that. Savijnaya. That is done by thinking, by analyzing it. There is a nice, interesting word in Sanskrit. It's called mananam. You can't translate it to English. There is no easy way to translate. Mananam means taking everything you are hearing, you are listening, amalgamating it, thinking about it. See if that's convincing for you. You answer your own questions. If you do meditation, that's what happens. All kinds of doubts come. He is the only one. Whether it is Vishnu, Shiva, whoever you have done it. That is Jnana. There is only one. Nothing else is important for you. That is Vairagya. You can't do anything that is egotistical. That is Satkarma. So they are all together. If you take any personality, like Shankaracharya, who is a Vedanti, who is a sannyasi, he is a great bhakta. He has written so many stotras. He is also great karma. He didn't sit through in some Himalayan cave. He traveled length and breadth of India so many times, wrote so many books, did established matas, 32 years. So much activity. So all 4 just merge. So it's futile to think, which is better path. Start with something. You start with bhakti, that's what you like. In fact, Sri Krishna says, he combines these 4 into 2. Bhakti and Satkarma, Vairagyam and Jnana. For most people, it's difficult to practice Vairagyam and Jnana. Because everything we do is to be leading eventually to Jnana only. She says only very few people can do it. So for most people, he recommends Bhakti, give your devotion to me, do whatever you do, give it to me. You start with that. But eventually, as I said, they all merge. Ajjat karma karomi tattadakalam sambhava tavaradhanam says Shankaracharya. Whatever I do, I dedicate it to you. You have to do something. In fact, Krishna also says, no creature can stay without action even for a second. Whether it is outside, or with the body, mind, or word. You are doing continuously action, you can't. So he says, why don't you dedicate those actions to me? The whole idea is to chip away egotistical attitude. And speaking of egotistical attitude, one final word before I go, two more. Ashtavaka Samhita. One king asks him, how do I get mukti? He gives us practical guides. Mukti michasi chet tat vishayan vishavatchaja. Vishayan means all the worldly things, like visha, like poison. Just avoid. Then what should you do? Kshamarjava daya dosha satyam piyushavat bhaja. Bhaja means seek. Slowly, enhance those things. What? Kshama. Kshama means people call it patience. It's not just patience, it's also let go. Some 20 years back, somebody might have said something to us, we keep still like, oh, why did he say that to me? Why did he say that to me? Because you are bothering yourself. The other guy who said is gone. Everything he said was gone there, but we are struggling. Kshama. Arjavam, sincerity. You say one word, you have believe it. Serious and arjavam, sincerity. Kshamarjava, daya. Dosham, contentment. We keep going on afterwards, one thing or another. Oh, we have this, we have 2 houses, we need to have 4 more houses. We have 4 cars, we need 10 cars. There is no limit. We are never saying, okay, I had enough. That content is, if it is not there, we are never happy. We started with happiness, right? Trupto Brahma. That's what. Dosham here. Kshamarjava, daya, dosha, satyam. He says, practice these 5. It's not for the society, it's for you. When you practice these 5, what happens is you have a peace, you have less entanglements, less obligations, which unnecessarily you build up yourself because of egotistical attitude. And then you, what I call it a slow suicide. The more you do these things, the more obligations you set up yourself, you work towards it, you develop blood pressure, you develop this, you develop that, diseases. What's the point? Where if you are a real businessman, you should ask her, okay, I am spending this much time on this, what am I getting in return? If you are getting ill health, what's the point? Who is benefiting? When you came along, you didn't bring anything. And today you don't take anything. Why all this headache? And lose your peace. One last thing, a sloka I will say, and then I will leave it at that. Because the question is, how do we live in this world, do what is needed, at the same time practice this jnana abhyasa. Sri Rama, is okay if I go 5 minutes?
Yes, please. More.
I'm trying to actually remove a lot of things. I'm just coming to you 2:30.
Very good.
Sri Rama and his brothers, as a custom in those days, they went around after the education, went around the empire to see how people are. Wherever he went, every family said, oh my people died and I have serious disease, I have that, I have this. Nobody said to anyone that they were happy. None. He went through all the homes. Everybody has something to complain about. And he goes to see, highly discouraged. He said, why do I need this empire? I can clear these people of their worries, their fears and their dukkha. In what way can I use this empire to do that? I am not interested. And that's when Vishwamitra comes and Dasharatha sent these 2 to protect his yajnas. Dasharatha was, they're small kids, this and that, he sent a horse, and then he said, okay, I'll take it. So he takes Vishwamitra to Rama. Rama tells Vishwamitra, I am not interested in anything. Nothing seems to be of any use. Nothing seems to change. It's like a dark state. He straightly will call like, why should I do anything? That's when Vishwamitra tells his Kulaguru, Vasishtha, please tell him something. Because he could do it himself, but he wanted the Kulaguru to teach him. That is the famous Yoga Vasishtha. In the Yoga Vasishtha, it's a great compendium of philosophical ideas and the stories to back up some of those things. That's only in Yoga Vasishtha we have that. Everything else is separately either Puranas or theory or Vedanta theories. But this combines both. 30,000 verses. After telling all those things at the end, he says, Tasmat Rajyadi Karyani Nivartaya Yadhakramam Daiva Karyam Tadha Krutva Tatha Chakva sukhi bhava, tapastyakva sukhi bhava. You can't just say, I'm not interested. You can be a yogi, but you have to do your obligations. Tasmat, therefore, because I told you all these 30,000 slokas, this is almost the last one in Yoga system. Rajyadi karyadi, nivartaya, perform them, yathatramam in prescribed order. Daiva karyam tatha kulpa. In the same way, do also the daiva karyas, whatever is required for you by the gods. There are some daiva karyas you can do. Tatah chakva sukhi. Then you say, I am renouncing it. Not now. You have to combine as long as you are in this world, unless you are able to completely do sannyasam. In fact, many old kings, old days, after the age of 60 or 65, whatever, they used to abandon their empire, give it to the next year, used to go and go to the forests, vanaprastha. Because they knew after some time, they can manage up to some point, but these entanglements, physical entanglements, as long as they are still there, they can't completely focus on it. At some point, they have to say, that's all. But we are not there yet. So we have to function. So we have to function like Rama. We have our own little empires. We have our family. We have our relatives. We have the society at large. So we have to manage that. We have to manage them, but in such a way that we still pursue jnana. That's how we have to use this Vedanta philosophy in a day-to-day life. Chip away egotistical. Anything you do, ask this golden question. Is it driven by my ego, or is it because it's something I need to do, my duty? If it's egotistical, say, hey, I won't do it. Slowly you will see, you'll be able to, you don't care about other people, how they appreciate you or not. You don't care about fame anymore. You do what you need, sir. As I said, Kshama, Arjava, Daya, Tosha, Satyam, those 5, just keep practicing day by day. So with this I will read one simple thing about Omkaram. I mentioned Omkaram. Omkaram is the way to meditate. Really, you can meditate on anything. You can get Vishnu, Shiva, or any god or anything. But Omkaram, as I said in the beginning in Mandukya Upanishad, is considered the best one in the sense. While doing that, you are thinking of the whole creation, about yourself, all the 3 states of consciousness, and then finally 3. Etadalambanam shreshtham, etadalambanam param, etadalambanam jnatva, brahmaloke mahyate. In Kathopanishad, Yama tells Nachiketa. This is the one. Etada, it's called alambanam, support for your practice. Etadalambanam shreshtham, this is the best one. Etadalambanam param, this is the greatest. Etadalambanam jnatva, brahmaloke mahyate, that's where you get the consciousness. So anyway, with that I will recite one slokam from Nirguna Manasa Puja from Shankaracharya. Nirguna, because Paramatma has 4 gunas, as you saw earlier. And then you do the puja in your mind. Whatever you do outside eventually has to lead to that jnana, right? It has to be eventually in the mind. Arathayami manisannibham atmalingam Mayapuri hudaya pankaja sannivishtam. Aradhayami manisannibham atmalingam. Paramatma is in you, he is glowing like money. Aradhayami manisannibham atmalingam. Mayapuri hudaya pankaja sannivishtam. He is in this Mayapuri. This Maya in the sense, Panchbhutas, we saw earlier, how this is with all Navadvaras, 9 holes in this body. This one is created. Saptaha-s vimala chitta jala abhishekai. How do you do the aradhana? You want to do abhishekam. What is that abhishekam? It comes from a river called Shraddha. Shraddha means sincerity. Shraddha-s. What is the water? Vimala chitta. Pure consciousness, pure mind. After getting over all this egotistical stuff. Shraddha-s vimala chitta jala abhishekai. Nicham samadhi kusumai. Samadhi. Kusuma, what are the flowers? Samadhi. Nicham samadhi kusumai apunat bhavaya. Apunat bhavaya. Not to have another life. Ayaradhaya. It's a great slogan. Om Bhadram Karnepi Shrunuyama Devaah Bhadram Vasniyamāsya Kshatraah Strairangaki Stushtvāgam Sastanubhi Yasema Devahitam Yadāyuhu Swastina Indro Urdhasravaah Swastina Pusha Vishwavedaah Swastina Starksha Arishthanimihi Swastina Brahaspati Dadhatu Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Very quickly what it means is, may the Lord give me strength of limbs, of the body, everything, so that I can dedicate myself to the work of the Lord. May all the celestial gods, the Indra, Pusha, the sun, and Garuda and Brahaspati be auspicious to us. And it says Om Shanti 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 3 times, because I started off saying that we have Dukkha Traya. For each of them, Shanti, peace. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahana Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhi Tamastu Mavadvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti